It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is not a military coup. This is a constitutional process led by the Venezuelan people under the leadership of a civilian, the interim president of Venezuela, Juan Guaidó.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch this thing break down throughout the day and where we're going for the next couple days. This is, you're watching something potentially happening here. You know, with Tiananmen Square and a few of the other ones, we didn't really have a look in like we're going to have a look in here. We saw that with the Arab Spring to a certain extent, and I think we're going to see that more and more here with Venezuela. And right now, the military's standing back, and I think what they're essentially doing is waiting to see what happens. Who's going where? Does it feel like that this thing could potentially go to the people? Because if it is, then we'll switch sides. If not, we're just going to kind of stand back and let itself play itself out, and we'll see what happens from there. But definitely things are starting to heat up in Venezuela. Socialism. This is not good if you're screaming for socialism in this country and watching this thing fall, no matter how much anybody else wants to say, oh, no, I'm not that kind of socialist. Well, I don't know what kind you are, because the ones you say you are aren't socialist, and socialism looks like this.
He has called the military institution to support the Venezuelan people on the streets and to restore our democracy in our country.
Yeah, that right there is Carlos Vicchio talking about what's going on there, and Guaido is saying, hey, military, look at what the people are doing in the streets. Check this out. Look at this right here. Look at what's happening out here. Either don't do anything or join us. But don't fight against us. Don't fight against us. Let this thing play itself out. And if you're going to get involved in any way, shape, or form, you come over here and watch what can happen when we restore this nation. And it's always, you know what it is? One of those things is where, yeah, what if, right? What if Guaido goes in there and he ends up being everything that he's billing himself out? He's gonna help the people. He's gonna restore not only democracy, but he goes in there and restores a sense of capitalism, free market. People start to get their lives back together. It's great, but you never know, because sometimes you replace the bad and only to find out it's a lot worse. I just always remember there's the American Dad. It's a TV show. It's a cartoon. Same guy, Seth MacFarlane, who does a Family Guy. There was one where they took over an island and they got rid of a dictator, and in the place they put this guy in. He was just the dancing guy, and all he did was dance to Venus from Bananarama, and everybody's like, this has to be better. And he ends up being the worst dictator of all time. You never know, but I have a feeling with the world watching Guaido and Venezuela and the way it's gone, and I think the way it's headed, this thing at some point in time is bound to break, and who knows what will happen. And it could get ugly, because what usually happens when people who have sticks and rocks and bandanas around their face people who have guns and tanks, what do you think usually happens? It gets ugly fast. Very, very fast. And the United States is watching this as well as the rest of the world, and they're asking, hey, any help at all would be nice.
The international community has an important role at this moment in time to help us and to support us to facilitate this process.
Yeah. And let's be real, right? You know, we scream because you hear people all the time go, oh, this is what Trump is going to be like. It's not what Trump is going to be like, right? The beauty of our country is the peaceful process of handing over power. When you hear that, it really resonates. He goes, oh, yeah, we kind of just say wish each other the best. And usually the president writes a note for another president, and they go to the swearing in of the new president, and everybody shakes hands, and the other president flies off and waves, and off into the sunset they go, and the next president. It really shows you how amazing as frustrating as it is, as insane as it is at times, as theatrical as it is, how good it really is. It is really good. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet on us. Guess what happens today? They sit down. They talk. There's no animosity. They have a good meeting. Who? Oh, this person called Trump, this other person called Pelosi, and a third person called Schumer. What?
We're very pleased with the
positive attitude toward recognizing the trillions of dollars of need, according to the American Society of Civil Engineers, the deficit that we have in our infrastructure.
Yeah. $2 trillion is what it looks like they're coming to an agreement with as far as infrastructure goes, which is massive. And they seem to have come to some sort of agreement. And it's a win for Schumer. It's a win for Pelosi. It's a win for Trump if this can happen. It may not be a win for the Democratic Party, but it's a big win for America. And I think that's what really, really matters.
The roads and the bridges and the highways, obviously water, but also a big emphasis on broadband, that every American home, we believe, needs broadband, an emphasis on the power grid so we could bring clean energy from one end of the country to the other.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think that's a wonderful thing. It's what needs to be done. We need fixing in this country. And when it comes to stuff that really should be happening, right? You guys can't agree on some stuff. You guys can't agree on this. You guys you're never going to agree on certain things, right? And so you hope your party eventually gets to the point where they have the power to get something through. But there are things that us, the American people, are looking at you going, you need to fix this, partly because we've paid for it and you've neglected it for years. So it's time to go and do this. And the beauty of something like this, it benefits across the board.
It's about jobs, jobs, jobs. It's about promoting commerce. It's about clean air, clean water. So therefore a public health issue. It's a quality of life issue.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. And we should be able to agree on this, right? And $2 trillion, could you imagine what that looks like being pumped into our economy, putting people back to work, but also, very importantly, restoring things that need fixing before they break and it becomes an absolute tragedy or disaster. These things need done. We waste so much money doing other things. Now the question is, can they get it done? And it looks like they probably will. This was just the first of the meetings.
We said we would meet in 3 weeks, and he would present to us some of his ideas on funding. So this was a very, very good start, and we'll see. We hope it will go to a constructive conclusion.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will. Now, there may be some money in there, quote unquote, for a wall, or they'll freak out about that. They'll fight over this. But if you're going to turn down $3 billion or $4 billion, whatever it is, the trillions of dollars because of that, it's ridiculous. You know it, and I know it. We all know it. And then the other question was asked today, hey, did you guys talk about that thing hanging over, that big I word, not impeachment, but that other thing?
In previous meetings, the president has said, if these investigations continue, I can't work with you. He didn't bring it up.
There you go. There you go. It's a win so far. We'll see, though. Like everything, it takes a while to figure out if these things play themselves out the way that you would like to see them played out, or if politics, even the most minutia of politics, gets in the way. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. The other thing happening today, the asylum rules may be changing. And, when I was down at the border, 2 weeks ago, some of the things that they had talked about was, and when I asked there was 7 Border Patrol agents throughout the day that were with us, and I asked them, what is the thing that if you guys get one thing to change, what would that be? And they're all, the asylum law. Change the asylum law. Change it. Well, you're going to have to change a law, which we know isn't going to happen because the president, this Congress, they're not really getting along. So the chance of that happening is slim to none. But there are some things he can do administratively when it comes to the asylum law that he can do that could change and indeed, in many ways, maybe speed up the process. And he's putting that into effect, or at least trying to. He ordered restrictions on asylum seekers at the Mexican border, including application fees, work permits, restraints, and directed the cases already in the clogged immigration courts be settled within 180 days. They've got 90 days to get this up and running. They've got to drop regulations and carry out his orders. But this potentially could get done. On top of that, they're going to put a restriction on the number of people who can apply for asylum per day, who qualifies for asylum, and where they must wait for resolution. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, this will be court challenge after court challenge after court challenge after court challenge, and then there'll be a little bit more court challenging, and then the court challenge will continue to go. But these are some of the things, and one of the things they talked about when I was there, and if you look now, there's a 17-point shift in how Democrats feel about whether or not there's a border crisis or an emergency. They believe it now. That has risen by 17 points since March. So when you look at this, they recognize some things are going on. And the Democrats, I don't know if they're going to get the message. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But they're starting to recognize that there's an issue there that's going on. You can blame it on whoever you want to blame it on. Let's be real. These things have gone on for years, and somebody's trying to address it. We'll see what happens. But one of the other things the Border Patrol agent said to me is, we would like to be, so they have a credible fear hearing. And that's usually the first hearing that people show up for. And it takes anywhere between 2 to 5 years before they even get their first, depending on where they are in the country, before they ever hear their first opportunity to step into court and talk about their case. They want the opportunity to go and train to be the first person that does that first hearing for credible fear. And then once that happens, they have 10 days to go then decide to get them in front of a judge or deny them essentially right there. So that's one of the things they've talked about they would like to do. We'll see. And that's an administrative thing that can happen when it comes to immigration. So we'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, hey, burglars, they're bad. You know how I know? Because I've been robbed twice. When I was a kid, we had our house robbed not once, but twice in the space of 4 days. They came, they saw, they took as much as they could. They came again. If we had Blink, not only, it may have happened the first time, but we'd have known where they were because, you see, it was our neighbor that was robbing us. His kid was robbing us. 2 days, and they took so much stuff. With Blink, you can see what's going on. You can monitor your house on the outside. You can monitor your house on the inside. They know what they're doing. So easy to set up wire-free cameras. They'll last up to 2 years with just a couple AA batteries. It is so simple. There is no subscriptions. There are no contracts, and it is totally affordable. And Blink works with Alexa. Get your Blink camera systems now. Simple and quick to install. Brilliant way to monitor your package delivery. Visit blinkprotect.com/Benson. 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 Blink is an Amazon company. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Experiencing separation anxiety? That's dumb. Check out Chad 24/7 at his website, ChadBensonShow.com, and on iTunes, free. The Chad Benson Show. Never feel lonely again.
We came to this meeting with an understanding that there's great need in our country for rebuilding our infrastructure, with a recognition that we stand at a pivotal place in terms of building infrastructure for the future.
Infrastructure, $2 trillion. They didn't even start there. Do you think Trump treats it like a game show? So there's Nancy and Chuck, and they're inside there, and he's treating it like a game show. And people are going, higher, lower, higher, lower, higher.
Originally, we had started a little lower. Even the president was eager to push it up to $2 trillion.
Isn't it funny how much they love him when he wants to spend more money on stuff? Oh, really? Well, let me tell you what you can do. This would be a win, because let's be honest, the bridges super suck, right? Like, that's the way the bridges should be now. It's like, welcome to, you might make it. Have you seen those commercials where it's okay? It's just okay. It's not okay. Those are our bridges. It's okay. You can make it across? It's okay. Should be okay. Should be good. You should make it to the other side. But then you got roads, right, that are at disrepair, or highways are kind of a mess. And I mean, there's just so many places. And let's not forget, let's just take away the bridges and the roads. How about the other stuff that's out there that needs to be dealt with? Like how many of our dams and some of these other things, especially our electrical grids and so many things, we need to address. Yeah, it needs to be done. It does. It needs to be done. And we'll see if they get it done. Again, it sounds great. They pat each other. They talk about the fact that they're going to hang out again at some point in time.
We said we would meet in 3 weeks, and he would present to us some of his ideas on funding. So this was a very, very good start, and we'll see. We hope it will go to a constructive conclusion.
But it sounds good, and they're all behind it, and then somewhere along the line, it's going to go to hell in a handbasket. We'll see. But $2 trillion is a lot of money. But would that money be well spent? That's the other thing, right? It could be $2 trillion. It could be $1 trillion. And it could be the $1 trillion could be just like the last 900, remember all that money we're jump-starting and the shovel-ready jobs? That all went to waste. This could be true, $2 trillion spent, but it could be done right, and it could be great. You just never know. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us each and every day at this time. We make you smile a little bit by giving you something in your wheelhouse of fun that you can put in your bag of coolness, just in case you have to take it out and say, ha-ha, I've got this. We call this our urban word of the day.
Thank you for saying. It's time for the urban word of the day, fam.
What?
Right
hey
now.
Time
to get a little more hip on the streets.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Urban word of the day.
It's producer Phil's his birthday. He's doing a little day drinking already. All right, here's one for you, kids. It's brand new. Came from the movie The Avengers, and I'm hearing it everywhere, and I'm seeing it everywhere. I love you 3000. I love you 3000. Tony Stark says that to his little one. When he says, I love you 1,000, she's like, I love you 3,000. I love you 3,000. That's going to be a new one, so be prepared for it. You're going to see it around. You're going to hear it. It's from The Avengers. I love you 3,000. Your urban word of the day.
Thank you for saying that in dated urbans. I'll understand you. That there was the urban word of the day. We damn stretched your cranium.
Anyone who doubts the potential danger that near-Earth objects pose to humanity need only enter Chelyabinsk in the YouTube search window. Above that Russian city on February 15, 2013, an asteroid 66 feet across blazed into the atmosphere and exploded, damaging nearly 2,000 buildings. At the Planetary Defense Conference, scientists are discussing ways to detect, track, and to potentially deflect any near-Earth object that threatens the Earth.
So what we have to do is put together an amazing team, the best of just everything, the best Americans from Space Force everywhere around the globe. The Russians are going to be involved. We'll have the English. I'm sure the Chinese will have some people there. It is going to be incredible. How good?
We're here because you're looking for the best of the best of the best, sir.
Yeah, that's what we need to stop giant asteroid smasher coming down to Earth. Probably have to have, Bruce Willis and his team. Just letting you know that. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. More from Venezuela. Did they or didn't they? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
It's the Chad Benson Show.
National Security Advisor John Bolton says a peaceful transfer of power in Venezuela is the principal objective for the Trump administration. When asked about possible U.S. military intervention, Bolton would not get into specifics, but said,
all options are on the table.
Bolton went on to say Venezuela needs to be ruled by the people there, not by external forces, pointing a finger at Cuba and Russia.
We expect the Russians not to interfere in what's happening in Venezuela.
But they already have, according to Mike Pompeo, Maduro. So here you got this thing in Venezuela. He knows the writing's on the wall, that the socialism thing has failed, and he realizes I gots to go, and he's realized that for a while. The Russians said, nah, don't go anywhere. I mean, he had the plane fired up, apparently, right? He was stacking his cash of money. He was ready to bounce. He's looking, it's like, hey, can I come hang out with you in Cuba? Can I go to Russia? Should I go to, like, Saudi Arabia? Where should I go? Where's my landing spot with all my ducats? Because I got a bunch of them. Where do I go? Because I need to get there. And they're like, no, don't go anywhere. Now, think about this. Venezuela has the most oil on the planet, right? So they're sitting on just so much oil. Oil's through the roof. The Russians like the fact they got a pal with oil. It's always a good thing. Although Russia they have there's some of their goodies as well as far as natural resources go. But this is one of those things where they love to have their fingers all over the place. If Maduro was to go, and there was a peaceful process in which they elect somebody who's not as friendly to the Kremlin and to the Russians, that is not a win for them in South America, right? So you can have you can have North and South America not hanging out with the Russians, and all they'll have left is Cuba, which, let's be real, is a joke. Is a joke. And the rest of the world wants him gone, period.
The world really has gotten behind Juan Guaido with some very minor exceptions, and that's the way this should go.
And the question is being asked by everybody, okay, so what's in it here realistically? Should stuff go really crazy? Should the Russians intervene, right, and throw down some military might, which you know they're already doing, right? And let's be real, I'm sure we have put some people on the ground and have trained up some people and made sure that they've got some stuff to them via different avenues as a just-in-case scenario. But you never, ever know.
We want, as our principal objective, the peaceful transfer of power. But I will say again, as the president has said from the outset, and that Nicolas Maduro and those supporting him, particularly those who are not Venezuelan, should know, is all options are on the table.
And he's looking at Russia when they say that. Here's something to think about, right? Not being talked about, needs to be talked about. So as Venezuela starts to descend into potential mass chaos, at some point in time, the military is going to they've got a few options. And everybody thinks it's back Maduro or back Guaido, right? So that's a possibility, right? They could do one of those. Although Juan Guaido essentially wants them to say, look, we're on your side, but we're not getting involved. That's the best thing for them. We're on your side. So we're going to just step aside and we're going to let the people handle it the way that the people need to handle it. There's a third option out there, one that's not talked about, that needs to be talked about, is what if a general stands up and says, I think I'm the right person for this job. I think the best thing for me to do is to clamp down on everybody and kind of take military control till we can get this thing sorted out. And then I will hand over power. Because what we normally see in pretty much every aspect of this kind of thing where potentially a military person stands up is they say this is what we're going to do. And as we all know, rarely does that happen. We want to know, is there going to be military action? Are we going to be involved? I think that depends on if anybody else gets involved. If the Russians get involved truly, and we know it's the Russians, and the world sees it's the Russians, the potential is very real. I wouldn't say no. I doubt it, but you never know. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Let's talk about single payer. You know, it's going to be a big deal as we head into 2020, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the question is it really possible? Well, anything is possible, but it's also, what are you willing to sacrifice, essentially, for others? For others, are you willing to sacrifice? There's a great article in the Washington Post of why Vermont's single-payer effort failed. And it's pretty simple when you break it down. I won't bore you with the minutiae. It's quite a long article. But essentially, it got to the point when they started, clamoring on about this, right? And you've got the governor there who's just championing the hell out of this stuff, and they're ready to roll, and this is going to just go. And, May of 2009 is when it took off. May Day 2009. This is what 1,000 people toting red signs saying healthcare is human rights. This is it. They've got this thing going. Next thing you know, boom, Governor Schumer's in there, and he's just doing everything he can. And this is what it's going to be. And they've got the Green Mountain Care, and it's going to be this thing. And he touts this, and he talks about the stuff. Hey, it's going to cost a little bit more money, right? So it gets through everything. But even though it gets passed through everything, along the way, they realize they're going to have to raise, state tax another 10%. On top of that, there's going to be, it's 9.5%, and then they're going to throw more other taxes onto employers to the tune of about 11.5%. And this was just some of it. But as they start to break this thing down, they realized along the way, okay, we're going to have to take away all these insurances. Everybody's going to have to come under us. Then people are saying they're going to be moving into the state, or they work in Vermont, and so they're going to want health care here from New York, New Jersey, and elsewhere, and Delaware all of a sudden. So we got to make sure we cover them. And we're going to go to Washington. And Washington's like, no, we've got the Affordable Care Act. You're going to get this and that's it. And they're like, well, wait a minute here. How's this going to work? And the years go by. You know, he's going into his third term. People are starting to look around and saying, well, wait a minute here. This isn't going to happen because the first year would have cost $4.3 billion, right? $4.3 billion. On top of the $2.6 billion in new state tax revenue, and all of a sudden they look up and it's swollen well past that, and they said we were shocked at the tax rates we're going to charge. The problem with something like single payer is it sounds great on paper, right? It absolutely sounds great. Everybody is going to have a chance to have this. It's going to be incredible. But the reality is when you start to break it down, you start to realize that you're going to lose your plan and you're going to be stuck with this. Your choice is choice A. Well, I don't want choice A. That's all you get. Well, what about that? What if I like the plan? This is Republican Tom Cole talking about Medicare for All.
More than 150 million people will lose health plans they like, plans that they bargained for, and in many cases, plans that they've earned through years of hard work. Medicare for All throws it all out the window in favor of a one-size-fits-all government-run health plan.
And people are like, oh, but that you just don't understand something, Chad. No, you don't understand something. You want to see how the inequities in healthcare is going to be? You think it's horrible now with the wealth inequities. Imagine when all the good doctors decide that they're going to a cash basis, they're going to serve very few, and that 1% of 1% is going to be getting that 1% of care that everybody wants. People are going to be just I don't think people really understand that. There are better ways of going about doing it. There's a free market way of doing it. But we're not approaching that. And on top of that, eventually to pay for it all, you're going to have to somewhat destroy a system that employs millions of people, right? Well, yeah, I never thought of that. Okay, so that goes, boom. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put everybody into the same category. So here you go. Here it is. Now, to pay for it, not only do we have to raise your personal income tax, we're going to have to raise employer tax. We're also going to have to then go out there and raise VAT, value-added tax. So we're going to add another, 15 to 25% on every good you buy. So who do you think that hurts? Do you think that hurts wealthy people? Upper middle class? It hurts the middle class and it hurts the poor. It is going to be frustrating. And then the frustration is going to come when there is lack of care. Can't get in to see my doctor, not for a week, not for 2 weeks, not for 5 weeks, there is going to be massive frustration. Everything sounds wonderful until you start to break it down. Take away the socialist aspect that everybody's going to pitch. Oh, it's socialized medicine. Just look at it from the real pragmatic way and say, well, wait a minute here. You want to take away my health care, but you're going to give me something else that I may not want, and you're going to take away my individual opportunity to say, I want this, I want that. I want to be able to say, I want to go here, I want to go there. You're going to take essentially all that away from me, which is also massively frustrating to a lot of the American people. It sounds great if you don't have it. And you're like, oh, yeah, healthcare for all. It's a human right. But when you get it, right, and then they say, hey, I've got it. And then they're like, nope, we're going to take it away from you and give you this. You're like, whoa. I always tell everybody, you want to see somebody go from a Democrat screaming about tax the rich, watch somebody flip to the other side when they win the lottery and they say, hey, we're going to take half your money away. And you're like, what? It's frustrating. There's better ways of going about doing it. And that's the frustrating thing, is that nobody really wants to focus on how to do this the right way because the money is still too big and both sides of the aisle benefit from it. And on top of that, you've got that other trough that's full of lobbyists and insurers and big pharma who are also feeding at the tax dollars that we take in and give to them. And it's frustrating. More competition, more transparency will go a lot further than saying, hey, it's one size fits all. Oh, by the way, it's not one size fits all. It's one size fits all for the rest of us not for the people that, well, potentially are the best of us. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. I do. I know I'm going to get text messages from that. People are going to be like, oh, Chad, how can you say that? It's simple because it's true. I've lived it. I've lived that world of health care. I've lived under national health care in Great Britain. I know what it looks like. It's not pretty. It's not. Hey, what is pretty is getting those credit cards, consolidating a loan into one amazingly easy and less expensive loan, saving money, and starting to build a little something. You can do that all with Lightstream. How would you like a fixed rate as low as 6.14% APR with AutoPay? You get up to $100,000. In many cases, you can even get as soon as the same day you apply. Lightstream is a division of SunTrust Bank, one of the nation's largest financial institution. Lots of peace of mind there. Too many of us, I don't even know. Like, I get offered credit cards all the time, and you'll look and it'll say, like, the first year it'll say, like, 3.5%, and then it goes up to 22%. You're like, sweet, mamma jamma. I'd be better off borrowing money from a loan shark than those people. That's where Lightstream comes in. Simple, easy, inexpensive, and you can do it right with them. And for my listeners, an additional interest rate discount. Go to lightstream.com/Benson, lightstream.com/Benson. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% autopay discount. Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson for more information. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
Takes him up to 54,017. Yeah, he heaves a big sigh of relief because Adam made you earn it today.
Wow, baby. Yes. Adam Levin gave him a run for money. Who is him? James Holzhauer. 18th appearance on Jeopardy. He's won over $1.3 million. He's chasing down Ken Jennings. But yesterday was the closest he came to losing. $18 difference. The $53,999 is the highest non-winning total in history, according to thejeopardyfan.com. Without actually winning. Man, he won almost $54,000, and he didn't win. What? Found something interesting about Jeopardy. There are a lot of things you can do on Jeopardy, some things you can't, including betting certain dollar figures because of what they potentially mean. So things like 69, 666, 88. Now, you can bet $2,300 in 88, but the 88, the 1488, because of the white power, you can't do that. 8 is the eighth letter in the alphabet is H, and because of that, Heil Hitler. You see a lot of white supremacists with 88 or 1488, which is the 14 letters or words they talk about, as far as securing the race. So they won't let you bet certain things on there. And obviously 666, we know what that's about. But it's interesting. Man, he's won a ton of money. And the guy that he took on last night, I guess, he's at Brandeis University, and it's very interesting because apparently he's also in sports analytics, and the way that this guy plays the game is very analytical, and he approaches it like Moneyball. Remember that Moneyball thing with the Oakland A's did for years, where essentially they bought cheap and they bought runs, and that's how they ended up staying competitively. It wasn't about star players. It was about purchasing certain things to put your team together. He plays that game's very analytical. It's very interesting. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Oh, Venezuela, what will happen to you?
Hopefully, President Guaido and the Venezuelan people are on the precipice of making sure that democracy can be restored to their country, and that is peacefully. That is absolutely essential. When
you've got Democrats coming out, that's Debbie Wasserman Schultz coming out, talking about, I hope this happens, and they're recognizing Guaido as President Trump. So many others around the world are doing the same thing, and they're close to, I don't want to say it's a civil war, because I think a majority of the people want this guy gone, except from the people who've plundered and just this country of vast resources that was once this beautiful, amazing place. Let me just put it this way. Caracas is super dangerous. Do you remember Medellin and the cartel and Colombia and all of those, the drug dealers, Pablo Escobar, and how dangerous it was there? It's now a hotbed of tourism, and Caracas is a great place if you want to go to see how the other half truly live and if you'd like to lose a few pounds along the way. That's how bad it is there. And this guy has just destroyed this nation, along with Hugo Chavez, just absolutely took an amazing country and just destroyed. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Check out the Instagram. Simple and easy. At Chad Benson Show. Check out the chadshow.com. Grab yourself your podcast as well. It is Taco Tuesday edition of the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. It's the Chad Benson Show.
We've seen images of tear gas canisters being fired from the government side to the opposition side. There seem to be troops now massing, some with riot shields, flashing lights and helicopters overhead. This is the highest stakes move so far in this standoff, and it certainly calls upon the government to respond in some way, directly challenging the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, to either take action or to step aside.
Take action or step aside. This is what it sounds like in Caracas tonight. Now, here's what you've got going on. Let's paint a picture for you. Caracas, Venezuela. Chavez comes in, says, hey, we're going to be giving everything to the people, right? Comes in, revolution, everything goes to the people. He wins in a fair election. Everybody's like, yeah, the rich have too much. Let's give it all to the people. He comes in, and what's he do? For the first year or two, things somewhat go okay. But then he starts his master plan. He starts just taking everything he possibly can and essentially robs the country blind. In a oil-rich nation, probably the richest oil nation on the planet as far as what they have underneath them, he ruins everything. Over the subsequent 18 years, it just falls to hell in a handbasket. He finally dies. Maduro, his second in charge, comes on in and continues the downward spiral. The nation is a disaster. People are starving. There's no food. Go to a hospital. Guess what? You can come to the hospital. But you know what? It don't matter because we got nothing here. We got no medicine. You need diapers for your kids? Tough. He goes and nationalizes stuff. There's a great video of him just walking and going, what business is that? And they said, oh, it's this guy's business. He goes, not anymore. It's our business. Take it from him. And you see this guy just in tears. They just go over and take his business away from him. And then what they do is they tell the people they can have all the stuff at virtually no money. And business owners, what happens? Business owners, if you are told you have your business and it costs you $10 to stop, to stock this, and the government tells you have to sell it at $5, so you lose $5, right? Like this is to make this. This is what it costs, right? You're selling it for $15. It costs you, $10 maybe. And they're saying you have to sell it at $5, so you lose these $5 in between. Eventually, what do? You stop doing anything, because why would you stock anything? We saw the same thing happen in Zimbabwe. They take everything over, and what ends up happening? Goes to hell in a handbasket. Who gets rich? The powers that be. And those powers are the government, in particular, the military. So there's two things that can happen here. You got Juan Guaido, who's basically said, I'm the president. right? Everybody wants you out. By our Constitution, I'm allowed to do this. Maduro is saying no. But the military's sitting there, and the military could go three ways. Everybody said two ways. They can go three ways. The first way is they can be behind Maduro. So all these people in the street, they can blast them away. Do whatever they want. Now, they'll have to answer the world, but at this point in time, do they really care? How much do you really want to hold on to power? Second thing you could do is you go over to Guaido's side. Now, in saying that, Guaido wants you to come over to this side, but he didn't want you to get involved because he doesn't want it to be a military coup. He wants the people on the street to come out and be that coup. A people's coup is what he wants. Not guns, but essentially forcing Maduro out, which apparently, according to Pompeo, was very close to happening to the point where they had fired up the jet, but the Russians are like, nah, don't go anywhere. Then there's the third option, which nobody talks about, and something that should be is the military option. Because somebody in the military might say, well, hold on a second here. I could be president. Why not? And when you listen to this, you could say, this is why that third option is very real.
If you're wondering why will the military support Maduro if the people of Venezuela clearly want change, it's because the military is involved in all types of lucrative business deals. If you go to restaurants in Caracas, when there are food shortages, you will notice there are people that are eating in these restaurants, and they're not the regular people. They're members of the government. They're members of the military. If you have a business in Venezuela and say you want to build an additional space to your business, every contract you try to get goes through somebody in the military. So the military has their hands in everything.
Yeah, and much like you see with a lot of these people in the military, they have the might, and they're more likely to follow not so much a politician after a while when they see everything going to hell in a handbasket as they are to follow a general. And that general will always tell you what? We're going to let these things calm down. Maduro's going to go. We're going to be under martial law for 6 months or a year, and we're going to rewrite the Constitution, and then we'll turn it back over to the people. And what ends up happening, see Egypt, is that person never leaves. See just about anywhere this has ever happened. And when you are in the military and you're a leader like that, you know what else happens? You look around and say, I don't need you, Maduro. I get those contracts myself. I can fatten my wallet. It's not just good enough that I'm putting on a little bit of weight while everybody's starving. I can make my bank account fat. Yeah. And you'll be seen by a hero for some. But we'll see. There's a lot of ways this thing can go, and it's ugly. And how much do the Russians get involved in this? Because you know they are. At what extent do we get involved, and not just us, but the rest of the world, if the Russians are truly involved, and if Maduro decides he's going to go out and cause his military to go out and start killing people in the streets? Very interesting. Very interesting. And where does he go? Because you know he's plundered this country. You absolutely know he has completely plundered this country. He's got to have. I think it was the Sudan leader. Was it the South Sudan leader? They went over to his house because he's under house arrest, and they go over there, and he has so much money in cash, millions upon millions upon millions of dollars in cash inside of his house. You know these people plunder their country. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Do love hearing from each and every single one of you. Something else that I've been watching. It's been very interesting. All this stuff going on. The latest polls out, not about the presidential race, not about any of those. Plenty of those out, but about what's going on at the border and the fight that is definitely on there at the border. Do you realize that since March, there's been a change of about 17 percentage points in Democrats who believe that there's an issue at the border? That's a huge, massive jump. Now, you've got the issues with child separation. We realize that.
The conditions where a child might be separated from a lawful parent or guardian at this time are extraordinarily rare. It's happening for less than 2 per day, even though we have 1,600 plus families arriving per day. Yeah. And what Trump is looking to do is, okay, so if I can't, this whole, zero tolerance with the child separation, which was an awful idea,
If we can't do that, then we're going to rewrite some of these asylum laws that I can do administratively, because the law itself can't be changed, but we can make some small changes administratively that may go a very long way, including how many people are allowed to apply, a fee, and where you may have to wait while you're basically waiting for asylum. Also, that all of the backlog of people who are waiting for asylum, that be cleans up within 180 days. And when I talked to many of the border agents, one of the things we talked about, which I found to be very interesting, is to a person, they said the same thing. Fix the asylum law. You'll fix a massive, massive portion of this. And I think that to be true. And one of the things they would love the president to do that he can do administratively is essentially go, you guys are going to be the first fair and credible hearing. So you have to say, hey, this is a credible fear. Here is my fear of my country and what's going on there. And that agent, it might take them an hour, but they can then decipher if this person deserves a second hearing. That second hearing must take place within 10 days. So there isn't this, we turn you loose and then you're out there in the streets for 2 years or 3 years waiting for your first hearing. And they would love to do that, and that's something he can do. So the changing of some of these asylum laws administratively, not so much the law itself, but the things inside of there may do something. It may not. I'm not going to blame Trump for that. Look, some of this is self-inflicted. I think when you try to do some of these things and you overreach, you're gonna stub your toe on more than a few occasions. And I think the child separation was definitely one of those. On the other side of things, this mess has been brewing for years. And if we could take a different action, because the same thing we've been doing, which is arguing about it over and over and over again, isn't getting it done for anybody. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Do love hearing from each and every one of you. Shooting today at UNC Charlotte on campus. 4 injured, 2 critical. 2 were wounded but seem to be doing okay, but 2 have also been killed. So you've got 6 people in total shot, and more is coming out. Not quite sure what happened. Apparently a lot of shots were fired there. Another situation. And much like we talked about yesterday, how big will this be? And was this a fight over boy, girl? Was it a situation where somebody was mentally deranged? Was there some of this stuff? Because we talked about the synagogue shooting, but we also talked yesterday about the Baltimore shooting over the weekend, where 1 person was also killed and 7 people were injured at a cookout for a church. It got 0 press. 0 press. And it was weird, but it shows you, too, where sometimes the media bent is. And I have a feeling if this was an angry boyfriend or some sort of gang thing and somebody chased somebody onto the campus or whatever it is, it'll get very little press because there's no narrative to push. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. My Pillow. I slept on my Giza sheets. Giza, Giza. It's cotton, special cotton. Small little area in the Mediterranean. That's where it's grown. Super smooth, amazingly breathable. When you get these sheets from My Pillow, you feel like you're sleeping on a cloud. It is so incredible. And the deep pockets, I'm telling you guys, you know this. Finding sheets that fit not just once, but on numerous occasions after you wash them is so tough to find. You won't have the problem with My Pillow's Giza sheets. They are amazing. 100% machine washable and dryable. You will feel the difference, and you will feel the quality, and you will sleep the quality. Get your Giza sheets today. Call 800-983-4975 or go to MyPillow.com. When you do, use promo code Benson. That's MyPillow.com, MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Or call 800-983-4975. Again, 75. Use promo code Benson, and you're going to love these things. Oh, it's amazing. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Ah, yes, Twitter fail coming up, and at the bottom of the hour, the Mooch. Anthony Scaramucci joins the Chad Benson Show. It is the Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
The tweet from Chase Bank came with the hashtag Monday Motivation and in the format of a popular meme imagining a conversation. In this case, it was you talking to your bank account. Chase had you asking, why is my balance so low? And your bank account answering, make coffee at home, eat the food that's already in the fridge, and you don't need a cab, it's only 3 blocks. This, Twitter decided, was poor shaming. Many people tweeted, including Democratic presidential hopeful Elizabeth Warren, who said, we lost our jobs/homes/savings, but gave you a $25 billion bailout. Chase deleted its tweet and promised to get better at hashtag Monday Motivation.
Oh, for God's sakes, get over yourself. You know what? I think what they said was right. If it came from Dave Ramsey or your mom, you'd have been like, yeah, you're right. If your mom comes to you and you're like, man, I'm struggling with money, Mom, and she sits, or a financial person that you go to somebody who's going to help you, and they say, look, you spend between your Starbucks and you're buying lunches out and the fact that, you know what, it's not really that far, you can walk to work, you'd save like $500 a month. You'd be like, oh, hell yeah. But because it's they got a bailout. Well, so did the auto industry, and at least the damn banks paid us back. We don't talk about the fact that we bailed out the unions in the auto industry. What do we get for it? But if it came from somebody else, it wasn't the message. It was the messenger. Right? That's what it was. The messenger was evil, big, and bad. This is that warfare we have between people who wear ties and work on Wall Street, is they're all evil and bad, but we want their money, but we're evil and bad. And the reality is, the housing bubble that exploded, banks, huge problems. What you guys were doing, awful. By the way, people out there who were told, hey, Fannie Mae and all of them, you got to give loans to just about anybody and everybody because we want everybody sharing the American experience and the dream. And all those people out there who took out loans, right, making $15 an hour, and you're buying a $600,000 house, and you couldn't afford it, and eventually it was going to bite you in the ass if the market didn't go up, that's on you too. But this right here was sound advice if it was anybody but them who delivered it. It's a weird thing. I read a great article about how we look at things. So this advice was sound, and the article was talking about cuddly or cute or creepy, and about how we look at animals different. And it talked about the panda bear and the giant salamander. Giant salamander also lives in China, is as endangered as, if not more so, than the panda bear. But because the panda bear is cute and cuddly, we love it. And the salamander's, ew, it's evil and it's just gross and it's slimy and it's the same size as us. They grow up to 600 pounds. They live forever and a day, but they're not cute. This is one of those same things where if it's your mom telling you to do something, it's tough love, and it's your mom, she's trying to help you out, or you go and you get that from your church, or you go from you get the Dave Ramsey, better than it should be, and you get that delivered to you, you're like, that's right, because Dave Ramsey's going to tell you the same damn thing, and you're going to spend a bunch of money. But because it's the banks, poor shaming. It's not poor shaming, it's truth. Not everything that is truth is shaming. Sometimes it's just truth. Maybe that's the new thing. It's shaming. So if you go and have an intervention with somebody, it's not an intervention. It's addiction shaming. Oh, you jerk, Chad. Probably truthful. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. He made news for about a hot second as the White House communications director. Was it like 11 days? The Mooch is going to come on and talk to us next. Fun guy. The Mooch. 11 days he was communications director. 11 days. Wow. Wonder what he's doing now. Talk to him straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
It's the Chad Benson Show.
He is funny. He is interesting. He has done a lot of things and has been successful at a bunch of stuff. And as he was just joking around, he wants to be mayhem in the Allstate commercial. Anthony Scaramucci joins us. And do you really want to be mayhem? Is that your goal, to be mayhem in the Allstate commercials?
You could have mentioned fired White House communications director after 11 days. How are you?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good. How you doing? How's life right now?
I'm doing great. I'm actually in the swamp for the Atlantic Council dinner tonight. Left the Milken conference, and I've got my conference out in Las Vegas next week, where you may know this. I'm interviewing General Kelly on stage. So it'll be our first public interaction with each other since he fired me 19 short months ago. So I'm excited.
That's going to be very interesting.
And the general and I are actually building a pretty nice relationship. So a message to swamp dwellers, you can't take the politics that seriously, okay? He fired me 19 months ago. Our first conversation, he did all the talking, I did all the packing. It was a 3-minute conversation, but we built a nice relationship, and we are both committed to veterans' causes and veterans' health issues, and so I think we're going to have a good time next week.
Hey, you look at the Trumpster and see what's going on out there. Obviously, 2020 shaping up to be extremely interesting, and you more familiar with the swamp than I think a lot of people realize. At one time, you were Clinton and Barack Obama. You supported them in election wise, and then I don't know if you switched teams, if you want to call it, but essentially that's what it looks like. But you look at the shaping up here. Newt Gingrich came out today and said Trump's biggest foe is going to be Trump. What do you think so far as this thing starts to shape up?
Well, I mean, just to completely clarify, I had given a $2,000 check to Secretary Clinton, or then First Lady Clinton in 2000. I wasn't really that close to her, but President Obama and I went to law school together. So when he asked me to support him, I did that more from a friendship person point of view than opposed to policy. So I'm a traditional Republican and pretty much a libertarian. And so what I would say, the president's done a very, very good job. If you tick off his accomplishments, he's done a great job. But I think what Speaker Gingrich is getting to is that sometimes he self-detonates with his personality or his Twitter account or some of the things that probably riles and helps reaffirm the base probably wouldn't help him with moderates or independents. So in order to win, and I certainly want the president to win, I'm very loyal to him. We've got to get those moderates and independents. You can't win with a 38% approval rating or 35 to 40% approval rating with women and things like that. We've got to get those numbers up. And what's frustrating for us that really like the president is he's done an unbelievable job on the economy. He's helped to right-side the trade issues. He's likely to denuclearize North Korea. I'm still optimistic about that. And he's deregulated aspects of the administrative state, which you know about and I know about, and is creating more freedom in our society. So all those things are great, but once in a while he goes a little nuts on a Twitter account. And when you're calling people like Rex Tillerson dumb as a rock, and you've got white women voters in suburbia trying to teach their kids about anti-bullying, it's not great for him. And so, but try telling him that, Chad, okay? Because he yells at me when I tell him that, and he tells me that, don't go to the dark side and so forth. So, but I mean, I'm my own guy. I would rather tell the truth about the situation.
I love that. Talking to Anthony Scaramucci, former White House communications director, and the dream of being mayhem in the Allstate commercials. You're out there. You're doing a lot of things. You see it now. You've been inside the swamp. Even if it was just for a quick dip, your toe in. You've seen all sides of this thing. How crazy is the swamp out there for somebody who's just the average person trying to look in, trying to understand what the hell's going on in D.C.?
Yeah, it's a very, very bad place. They've actually subordinated the interests of the American people to their personal vanity and their personal egos. And so there are people here that are ruling for multiple decades when they should be serving. And so they've really just got the whole thing wrong here. And that's why the president won. I mean, in many ways, he's an orange wrecking ball at the barricade, knocking barricades down here. So that's a protest vote. In a lot of the flyover states, they look at what's going on in Washington and say, okay, wait a minute, guys, you racked up a $20 trillion plus of debt. You killed 1 million people in the Middle East. 70,000 servicemen and women were wounded. You killed 7,000 of our troops over 2 decades. Our infrastructure is crumbling. Our educational system is uneven, K through 12. We have no industrial policy. there's no 25-year plan on anything related to America, but yet in China, 25 years is viewed as short-termism. So what are you guys doing? You're fighting it out on cable news, and you're blistering each other with investigations and all this stupid nonsense. Why don't you guys govern and come up with some comprehensive policies so that we can make sure that America maintains its competitive position in the world over the next decade and next century? So they don't do that here in Washington. They pee on each other, and the lobbyists control the place. And so that's why the president's there. And so I hope he wins re-election and can do further damage to this very corrupt, bereft system. How's that, Chad? I
love that. You knocked that at the park. By the way,
I'm holding back a little bit of how I really feel about the place.
The lobbyists, man, that has got to be. It's on the outside, it's like, oh, those people are evil. On the inside, you're like, damn, that's a good job to have. I've known a few lobbyists, and there's some good money in that. They're lobbying.
Oh my God, it's very lucrative. If you're skimming the top of these campaign donations, that's very lucrative. If you're sitting on K Street lobbying the government, that's very lucrative. They're spending $5 billion lobbying this government. But let me ask you this, and I'll put this to your listeners. If you have 535 people in the Congress, between the Senate and the House of Representatives, and you've got one president, so that's 536 people that are controlling a $4.2 trillion budget. Okay, so let's just tell the American people what that is. That's about 23% of the country's GDP is controlled by 536 people. Is there any wonder why you've got $5 billion worth of lobbyists in this town going after that lucre? Okay, so it's another disgusting thing about what's going on in our system. So these other systems have problems too. I'm not trying to say that we have problems, but we have to correct these problems. We have to clean this mess up because it's just not serving the American public anymore. And there's 62.8 million voters in the 2016 election for Donald J. Trump for a reason. They want some disruptive activity in this place, and they want this place to be made better, and they want the policies to be better. And I think the polemics and the polarity is really not helping the American people.
No, definitely not. But, like you said, it's about their fiefdoms more than it is anything else, and they all love to protect their fiefdoms, which is one of the reasons they don't like Donald Trump, because he is not a fiefdom person in the sense that, he's not really a Washington outsider and insider. He's an outsider, and I think they hate it. Both sides hate the fact that somebody else is in their world and may expose that. Talking to Anthony Scaramucci, looking forward, so you look forward here. You're out there, you're doing your things, you're going about, you're talking to people, you look at this. If there's one person on the other side that you think that person could be interesting and it'd be a hell of a dogfight between President Trump and him, who would that be?
I got to be honest. This is not me being partisan. I'm really trying to be objective. Remember, I'm running $12 billion of capital, so I can't be a partisan. I have to be objective. I don't see anybody on that side that's declared themselves yet that can beat Trump, because they're all conventional politicians, and they just won't be able to handle him on the debate stage or during the campaign in terms of his maneuvers and his verbal dexterity. He's the Ronnie Lott, the all-pro free safety from the 80s who used to crush people. He's the Ronnie Lott of verbal contact. And so he'll knock most of those people off the debate stage. And but I don't see anybody on their side right now that can offer that up. Remember, if Biden's ahead in the short term, because the president hasn't really defined him yet. Once the president starts his verbiage, you watch how these things tighten, and ultimately I think the economy will rule the roost. People will vote the economy. If the economy remains strong and through the 2020 reelect, I think it's the president's to lose. So we'll have to see what happens. But the one person that I do find interesting and I admire is Kamala Harris. I think she's got a backbone. She's very tough. And she could build a coalition very similar to President Obama's coalition. So we'll have to see if she can win the nomination. But I think, in my opinion, she would be the toughest opponent based on what I see out there.
Yeah, I find her to be interesting. Coming from California, she is a hell of a prosecutor, and like you said, she does have a backbone. I think she'd be very interesting. Talking to Anthony Scaramucci here, former White House communications director, soon to be hopefully mayhem in the Allstate commercials, because you do cause mayhem, and that's always fun.
Trump, I would love that job, actually.
That's a good job, man. I'm telling you, those guys, that's good money right there. I mean, it's not like you really dying for the money, but it would still be cool to just be, hey, I'm mayhem. You look out there and, Trump is his own worst enemy. And so many times we've talked about this. The reality is we often wonder why it is that he does the things he does. It's like one of those things where he always ends up telling fishing tales. I went fishing and I caught, everybody's like, yeah, he caught a bass. And instead he's like, no, I caught a great white shark. And the reality is, I always ask myself, why do you do that? What is it about that makes you go, you caught a great white shark when you really didn't catch a great white shark?
Well, he got away with it his entire life. So when he was marketing Trump Tower and they were like, not the best parquet floors, and they were glued down to the concrete. He had people believing that they were, the greatest luxury apartments ever. He had a great location. He took advantage of that, but he's had a tendency to sell a yarn his entire life. So he's gotten away with that, and so he's tripling down on it as president. So, one of the things that happens, and people get very mad at me because is the president telling a fib? I say yes. I'm not one of these guys that pretends he doesn't do that. But he's also trying to light the fire of the left and the mainstream media. He wants them to say that he told 10,000 lies, 11,000 lies. And people get very mad at me for saying that. He does want that. He wants those guys to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher when they're on the air. He wants the wah because it further ignites and excites his base. Remember, the biggest issue for the president is on the turnout of his base. And that's the reason why he's locked on the wall. He's locked on certain issues because he knows he's got to get the participation on the base identical to more than where it was in 2016 in order to win. And so a lot of that stuff's being done for the base.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, again, until people and the media calls it, but the reality is until his base, I think, calls some of it, he's going to continue to do what he does. And
they like it. They like it.
It does. Again. He's a natural born showman.
So exactly. They like the fact that the media is calling him out on it, and they want him to tell another lie so the media gets even more upset. So what ends up happening to me is I try to explain that to people, and then, oh my God, you're a Trump sycophant and Trump apologist. I just called the guy a liar. I'm not an apologist. I'm just explaining to you what and why he's doing it. So I mean, you can dislike me for that, but that's the truth.
No, you tell the truth, and that's a wonderful thing. Last question. Appreciate you coming on, Anthony Scaramucci. Okay, so this whole thing with the banks and all the stuff I see going on, the reality is where I think this is going to get really ugly is they're going to look for anything. They're going to go back 20, 30 years trying to find any kind of loan. They're looking to play the game as did he lie somewhere on a loan that they could hold it over his head and say, look what you've done. We're now going to come after you. And I just feel like that it's going to be this way now going forward with both sides, and that drives me crazy that we're going to go so in depth that we're never going to have anybody who ever wants that damn job worth a damn running.
Well, I mean, so they've done that, right? Like, so they if you want a job and you're an entrepreneur, you have to sell your business or you have to let go of your shares in your company. They do all these things that create barriers to entry from real people coming into government to really come up with solution-based government. But in this case, I think it'll go to a judge. It's a Fourth Amendment issue, which is the right to privacy. And the judge will have to examine the case and say, does the president, as a private citizen of the country, deserve a right to privacy to the disclosure of these issues? And so I hope he decides that the answer to that is yes, because we shouldn't be fighting over the president's past business practices. We should be fighting over his current and future policies. And so we'll have to see. But you're right. If they rule against them, and Deutsche Bank and Capital One they have to give out his financial disclosures. They're forced to do that. I think that's very bad for the future in terms of who's going to be running and why.
Absolutely, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Appreciate you coming on, Anthony Scaramucci, former White House Communications Director. And you're going to give me the follow on on the old Twitter, right? I followed you. You're going to give me the follow?
Yeah, what's your handle? I'll do it right now, my brother. What's your handle?
At Chad Benson Show. Simple and easy. ChadBenson. I appreciate you coming on, my man. Thank you so very much.
You picked up a new follower, okay? Unfortunately, it's not quite mayhem from the Allstate commercial, but I'm pretty close, Bill. Pretty close.
You're mayhem in Washington, and that makes me laugh.
God bless.
God bless you, brother. Talk to you later. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson. Interesting guy. Wind him up, turn him loose. And the fact is you get honesty out of him. And I think that's sometimes in life, especially in politics, we're really uncomfortable with honesty because we're so used to those sterile answers from politicians. And it is refreshing, right? You may not like what you hear, but at least it's refreshing and it's something completely different. And you're going to go, okay, I know where you stand. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what? Say what? It's good having the mooch on. I was telling producer Phil to say what. So I tweeted out earlier that he was going to be on the show. And I can't find it. It's not on my Twitter timeline. I could see the picture, and it shows it in my media, but it never went out. And it's so weird. And I know people say, you're a conspiracy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I get the game. And I'm okay with the game. You're giving me a free opportunity to play the game, right? And you're going to get my data and information. I understand that. But don't tell me that there aren't things that happen there. I don't buy it. Not going to buy it for a second. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Of course, Venezuela is, well, quite frankly, I don't know what it's going to look like. I do not know what Venezuela is going to look like in the next 24, 48 hours, potentially through the weekend and moving forward. And the possibility of this thing going south fast is real. But you got a coup going on, but is it a military coup? No, they're not participating in it. We don't want them to participate. We want it to be a people's coup. But one thing is for sure, he has to go.
We stand with the people of Venezuela, and we stand with Juan Guaido. Maduro has to go.
Yeah, he's got to go, right? Remember Cribs? You don't got a home. You don't got to go home. You just got to go out of here. And that's kind of what they're saying, right? But you've got a lot of people who've got interest there, in particular the Russians, and Putin doesn't want to lose his good fat buddy who wears tracksuits. He doesn't want to lose that. He doesn't. He might, though. He might. 323-538-2423. Blink is amazing. You want to know when somebody's casing your house, not after they've already been there, done that, taken everything, potentially harmed your family. You want to know long before that. That's where Blink comes in. Easy, motion-activated wireless cameras, indoor, outdoor. They're incredible, easy to set up in minutes. Couple AA batteries that will last you up to 2 years. No contracts, no subscriptions, totally affordable. You can monitor what's going on outside your house and inside your house with the live feed option with the Blink smartphone app. It's incredible. So inexpensive. Get your system today. Brilliant way to monitor your package deliveries. Visit blinkprotect.com/Benson. 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 Check it out for yourself. Blink will take care of you. Blink is an Amazon company. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. It's the Chad Benson Show.
We've seen images of tear gas canisters being fired from the government side to the opposition side. There seem to be troops now massing, some with riot shields, flashing lights and helicopters overhead. This is the highest stakes move so far in this standoff, and it certainly calls upon the government to respond in some way, directly challenging the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, to either take action or to step aside.
Yeah, if you're not checking out what's going on in Venezuela, it is getting ugly very, very fast. And it's in a very weird position where you've got somebody who's claiming to be the president as opposed to somebody who is the president in a very kind of Nobody really believes the last couple of elections, and now you've got a guy named Guaido who is claiming to be and is being recognized outside of that country as the leader. And they've been doing this tap-toe back and forth. Obviously, you see what's going on in Venezuela, socialism. You see what's happening there, socialism, and how it's completely fallen apart. It is a humanitarian crisis. They don't have anything. If you want diapers, you can't get diapers. If you need medicine, you can't get medicine. Inflation is rampant. For a country where right now, just understand this, for a country who is sitting on the largest oil reserves in the world, and globally, oil is flying up and has been doing quite well. They're starving their people, socialism. And the battle is on now of what will happen. And there's always the question of, what say this fails? Because right now what you have is, you have people taking to the streets like they've not seen before. And they've gone to the streets before, but it's usually been in protest. Today, it's becoming a lot more of confrontational. You have the military that is kind of standing back and saying, all right, let's just see where this goes. Because let's be real, whoever the military decides to back, that's the win. And the what if he keeps control is out there.
Can Maduro retain control? Can he not? If he retains control, what happens to Juan Guaido and Leopoldo Lopez? It's hard for me to imagine that he lets them walk around the streets freely the way he has Guaido over the last several months.
Yeah, and I don't think that to be true. He's not even wearing a bulletproof vest. And that's crazy. Maduro's just doing whatever he's doing, but Guaido is not wearing a bulletproof vest. And I just think, first of all, let me tell you how this ends no matter what happens. America gets blamed for it, period. We will get blamed for it. We will. It's our fault. The Russians will come out and China will say, "How dare you do that to Venezuela?" And the Cubans will come out and no, this is the people. The people have taken to the street because they're looking around saying to themselves, this is awful. This is a nightmare. We're starving. We've got nothing. We've joked about the fact that they have the Venezuelan diet where over the last, year? People have lost on average about 20 pounds because they can't feed themselves. And then you got to think about all of the people in the what if scenario. This thing goes really sideways. The potential of a true humanitarian crisis.
What happens to all of Venezuela's neighbors? We have seen over 3 million Venezuelans fleeing this country over the last couple of years, searching for a better place. If we don't see a change today or in the next couple of days, expect a refugee crisis that's already been happening, expected to accelerate, to see millions more leave. And that will be a challenge for Colombia, Brazil, Peru, for lots of countries in South America.
Yeah. And it's the what if. Now the battle is on for the military. The battle has begun for the military. How can I get you either to stay out of it or how can I get you on my side? The worst thing if I'm Guaido is you decide you're going to stick with Maduro. How do I get you to come over to my side? How do I get you to come over? Or better yet, here's the third thing that nobody's talking about. What if you're a general? And you say to yourself, Maduro's awful, and I don't like this Guaido guy. I'm going to install myself as the leader of the country. What do you think of apples that are those apples that we don't have in this country?
He has called the military institution to support the Venezuelan people on the streets and to restore our democracy in our country.
Yeah. That's what they want. And they're emphasizing one thing when it comes to what's going on in the streets right now that needs to be emphasized.
This is not a military coup. This is a constitutional process led by the Venezuelan people under the leadership of a civilian, the interim president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido.
So what they're saying is, look, all these people are on the street. All these people are doing their thing, but they're doing it. We're talking to the military, hoping that they will come to our side and just allow this thing to take process and see where it goes. But we're not telling the military they need to fight with us. Our whole thing is we want them to be on our side. We don't want them to fight, but we want them to be on our side because we know what happens when people have sticks, rocks, and Molotov cocktails. No matter how dangerous it can be, the reality is the people sitting there in the tanks, the people sitting there with the guns, they win. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. I'll tell you what, if I am Trump, this is the thing I play on, man. This is absolutely the thing I completely play on when it comes to the socialism thing. Because Bernie can spin it any way he wants, right? All of these other can spin it any way that they want. Oh, I have a different kind of socialism. This is what socialism really looks like. This right here is the thing that socialism looks like. Period. Case closed. You could call all of the other things, I'm a Democratic this or Democratic. No, this is what socialism looks like. You want high taxes, right? That's what you want. You want high taxes and free stuff. Well, you know how you get that? You get that through a free market society. That's how you get that, not through socialism. Socialism is the center of planning, right? That's what it is. Central planning, government controls all. That's what you get. And that's when I hear Bernie and I see Bernie and I look at his past, he wants more of that than the free market stuff. Because for all the stuff he touts about the Scandinavians, you know what Scandinavians have? Free market. You know what Scandinavians have? They have high taxes. But you also know what they have? No death tax. They have school choice. They're a monolithic society. They have a lot of different things that we don't have in this culture that he goes and rails against when he talks about the 1%. Oh, the 1% and this, and we should be taxing that. They don't have a death tax there. What? Oh, the transfer of wealth. All those things that he rails against. And he says, I'm more like the Scandinavians. No, you're not, because they have a lot of things that you will not. You're not going to allow school choice. So if I'm Trump, I'm like, hey, this is what you guys want. Have at it. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Biden is in the lead. How much does that matter at this point in time? I don't think it matters that much, although this is the I word's out there, and it is going to continue to be out there. But I'm going to throw something at you, and even Biden talked a bit about this.
What the Congress should do, and they are doing, is investigate that. And if, in fact, they block the investigation, they have no alternative to go to the only other constitutional resort they have is impeachment.
You wouldn't want to impeach now, but here's something to think about. You have got 34 seats in the Senate up for grabs. You don't need a ton to switch, right? You need a few. Out of the 34 seats up for grab, 23 of them, I believe, 22 of them are Republican seats. And there's 2 or 3 that are really in play for the Democrats. Martha McSally, potentially, Arizona. A couple other ones may be in play, or it's going to be close. So you have a chance that maybe, just maybe, in the back pocket, you say to yourself, let's just say for the sake of argument, everything stays the way it is right now. Things go on. Everything's smooth. As far as the economy, Trump wins re-election. What we have in the back pocket is the potential. If we flip the Senate and we hold on to the House, guess what? We could, at that point in time, move forward with an impeachment. If we do it too early and we fail, anything after that, if he wins, is going to be seen as a massive witch hunt, and we will pay the price at the ballot box. Something to think about in the larger strategy. And today, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer sat down with the president to talk infrastructure, and they sat down and they chawed on about infrastructure and this, that, and the other. And one of the things that, they didn't talk about was the whole things that's going on with the investigations. It was more about, hey, infrastructure, which would be a huge win for both the Democrats and the Republicans and for the American people. But the reality is in the day of politics, it seems to be only about politics. We'll see if they can get this thing done. But they didn't talk about the investigation, right? And Trump didn't even bring it up, which I thought was rather interesting.
In previous meetings, the president has said, if these investigations continue, I can't work with you. He didn't bring it up.
Well, there you go. And that's good. Because I think, in some ways, and this is where, they'll talk about impeachment on the MSNBCs and the CNNs, and they'll do all that stuff. But the reality is, for the craziness and the running around with the hair on fire that you see on these places, a lot of these politicians, it's just, you're fighting one another, right? You go out and you do the battle during the day, and it's crazy. There are some people at the Shifts of the world and a few of the other ones who are hyper partisan and I think just wandered off the reservation. But a lot of them, it's just business. I think Trump feels that way, too. He'll go and battle, and he'll do it on Twitter, and he'll say the things that he says. But then on the other side of things, hey, we got a chance to do something good here. Let's do it. Because that does look like a win. If you got infrastructure, and they're talking about $2 trillion.
We agreed on a number, which was very, very good. $2 trillion for infrastructure.
That would be massive. Jobs, as Nancy Pelosi says. But on top of all of that, seeing our crumbling infrastructure start to be put back together is a big win. For the people, yes, but both sides can put a feather in their cap. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Butcher Box. Bet they'd like to have Butcher Box in Venezuela. Well, they could get it, but the reality is they got other things going on. But you can have Butcher Box. Sit back, relax, and eat the best cuts, the best quality of meat around. Grass-fed, grass-finished beef, free organic range chicken. You got the best pork around. You got sockeyed salmon from Bristol Bay, Alaska. You get it. It's the best. No hormones, no antibiotics, ever. It's incredible. You can customize your box. 20 different cuts of meat. Best cuts, best quality. You will not find this anywhere else. I challenge you. Get Butcher Box. Look at your cuts. Look at your quality. Then go on into the store and see if you can find it. You will not find it. Now, this is what they're offering my listeners. By the way, it's less than $6 a meal. I think it's $5.38 a meal for the best meat you're ever going to find. Ultimate breakfast bundle right now. 2 packs of the best tasting bacon, 2 pounds of custom breakfast sausage, $20 off your first box. All you have to do is sign up today. Go right now. Butcherbox.com/Chad. 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 It's the Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
A great article today on why Vermont's single-payer system. We talk about all of the stuff that you see just swirling around out there, but I want free this, and healthcare is a human right. Everybody wants stuff free. And there's a really good article in the Washington Post on why it failed. And simply it failed because it was too expensive. It was just too expensive. They thought they had everything set up. They thought Washington was going to even give them a ton of money. They thought all of this stuff was going to happen. And even though they had put more taxes out there for people, they thought we could get this done. And then when they thought they were at the point where they thought they could get it done, they realized that the prices were still way too far out of whack and it was never going to happen. And they said we were shocked at the tax rates we were going to have to charge. And what ends up happening when you talk about, okay, it should be for everyone. I tell everybody this. I don't think people understand. If you think that the insurance we have is so bad, and let's be real with the amount of people, what is that, 30 million people that are uninsured in a country of 350 million people? So let's just say it's 35 million people. So 10% are uninsured, right? And some of those, and out of those 2 or 3% are uninsured because they've got issues, they're in the streets, the whole 9 yards. You've got some that are just off the grid. They thought, you know what, I'll pay it, we'll do it later. So how many of those are real? So, but it's still a number that's too big. We'd like to see everybody insured. I get that. But what ends up happening is when you go to a system like this, there'll always be another way for people to get their health care. And that is the upper echelon of people. That 1%, 5%, 10%, 20% of people will figure out a way to get even better health care where everybody else will be stuck with the crumbs. And I don't think people realize that. If you think the inequity in health care is out there now, wait till you make it for everybody. So many people just don't get that. I'd love to see everybody insured. But the reality is it's not going to happen. It's not. Just because some people don't care. Just because some people have issues and they're never going. I'd love to see it. So all of us are just happy-go-lucky and everybody donates their time and it's all free and it's all wonderful. It's just not going to happen the way that people think. And our system has lots of flaws in it. Flaws that if you take out the elements of the insanity of administrators, you make it more transparent and you really make competition fight it out, you could get some of these prices down where it's manageable and a family of four is not spending more than their mortgage for insurance. But that's a big if. When you've got so many lobbyists, when you have troughs that are both sides, by the way. The American people are the ones who are putting the money in, and those troughs are getting filled. And guess what's happening? You've got people on one side, the insurance companies and everybody else who are happy because their trough is getting full. And you got politicians over here who are happy because their troughs are getting full. We've got to figure out a way to turn that spigot off. Make it manageable. Not saying people don't deserve to get paid, make a little something. I think we all realize that. But at the same time, the game is on us right now, and we should be pissed. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. It is, well, quite frankly, it is very interesting in Venezuela. Is it a coup? Is it an uprising of people? Is the military involved? Are they not involved? Well, something's happening, and it's bigger than it's happened before, and it's more than just street protests. We shall see, but the potential for this thing to get ugly is real. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You got a little battle going on in the NRA. Talk about that. Peter Buttigieg has an issue with a certain group of voters that he's struggling with. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
It's the Chad Benson Show.
We're seeing dramatic images now developing out of the Venezuelan capital, Caracas. Remember, the country has been in a state of crisis with two men declaring themselves president, but the one who was the opposition leader now raising the stakes, saying that the military are coming to his side, calling on the people to come out onto the streets and for military units to defect.
Yeah. Interesting. So you got Guaido and Maduro, and you're watching something. This is history unfolding. If I was teaching high school right now, I would make sure that throughout the day, at some point in time, the kids watch this for two reasons. One, to remind them how awesome it is to be in our country, to have the peaceful transfer of power that takes place in this country. How amazing it is that when our president leaves, whether he or she is voted out or has served their term, they go. They leave a letter. Dear next person who's coming in, gonna be honest with you, this job can suck at times. There's gonna be some downtime, too, that you probably didn't realize. Make sure you keep some friends closer. Always have a laugh. This country's the greatest. Sign the guy going out. Right? What about a girl? Well, the girl hasn't been there yet. When that happens, I'll say, signed by the president. And the other side is to show you what happens in a situation where you've got something that seems like a wonderful idea. Socialism's great, right? In sweeps Hugo Chavez, right? Celebrities he is just lauded by celebrities and world leaders. Look at what he's doing. He's giving it back to the poor. And what did he do? He destroyed a country that sits on the largest oil reserve on the planet. He destroys a country by taking away their infrastructure and turning it into the infrastructure of, hey, central planning, government runs everything. Don't you worry about anything. And anything that anybody wants, we'll make sure that you can't sell it at a price that makes it successful for you because you're essentially robbing from the people. And in doing so, we'll just either take it from you or force you to sell it at a cut rate price so you lose money and eventually you go out of business. But the people for that moment will be happy, and that's all that matters. And then they go back and go, why is nobody here to sell me the thing I've got before? Because I can't afford it. So they've decided to leave. To see how, while our system is flawed at times and can be, and a lot of that has to do not so much with the system itself, but the people who want power with inside that system, take control of it, it's still the best system around. So you can get up people like Joe Biden saying this yesterday.
The stock market is roaring, but you don't feel it. There was $2 trillion tax cut last year. Did you feel it? Did you get anything from it? Of course not.
Of course not. You didn't get anything from it. Yeah, you did. More people are optimistic about it, and you guys can all sit there. But they know that they were part of, hey, you're in the union, you're off today, but you're still getting paid for today, so show up and cheer. But it makes me laugh. Because you look at our system, and you look at, for all of the complaints that so many people have, and they rail against, it's always about the 1%, this, that, and the other, compared to what a lot of other people have around the globe, even people that are supposedly in good situations, we're still the envy of the world. And I think we need to remind ourselves every once in a while, because we hear negativity 24/7 about how rigged the system is, how awful it is, how it only benefit a small few, and I get it all the time, and it just, we're in such a better position. And this is a reminder, and this is. And I'll point out again, too, in this situation is the wild card in a situation like this, and that is the military, right? That is the military. Is there a military? Are they listening to anybody? Right? Guaido can say, we're telling them to defect to us, to come to our side. Maduro's trying to hold on to power. But the reality is there a leader in the military that says, I'd like that job, so why don't I go ahead and say, hey, truce, we're going to watch everything, and for the next 6 months or a year, we're going to be the keepers of the land, and always we're going to be that bridge between Maduro and freedom for the people. And while we've seen it on many occasions, a lot of times what happened is that third person who slides in ends up being the sneakiest of all, and they're the ones who ends up holding on to power. So be careful what you wish for, Guaido, in calling for the army. Maybe your best bet is to say, I need to find a general or two that'll be neutral in this situation, who can calm people down and let the people decide.
Hoy, las Fuerzas Armadas claramente están del lado del pueblo, están del lado de la Constitución, leales a la Constitución, leales al pueblo de Venezuela, a su familia, al futuro, al progreso.
That's Guaido right there saying the army is with the people. I don't know if that's true. But again, be careful what you wish for, because you never know. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Energy drinks. I don't drink energy drinks, right? I don't drink them at all. I've never even had one. Producer Phil, you ever had an energy drink at all? Like a Red Bull?
I did a Red Bull once, and I thought it was the most disgusting thing I ever had.
In England, we used to have this thing called Lucozade. It's still out there. I got to be honest with you. It was, and it's like what sports people drink, right? It reminds me of it's what plants drink or whatever, that for Idiocracy. Lucozade's pretty big. And one time I took a drink, and I was like, this is like lemony pledge. I'm going to say no. But there is a fear factor out there with energy drinks, because kids drink them ridiculously, and you're seeing more and more health issues with that, including some kids who potentially could have died from it.
16-year-old David Allen Cripe died last year after he drank too much caffeine. And now his parents, with the help of South Carolina lawmakers, are trying to ban the sale of energy drinks to teens.
Anywhere in the U.S. as of now, of any age, you can go and purchase an energy drink from the store. But you may not know this, the fine print on the back of all of those cans. It says not recommended for children. Now, the Cripe family says this warning was not strong enough to save their child's life, and it definitely is not strong enough to save yours.
Yeah. I don't know how much energy's in there and how much caffeine's in there, but that's where it's coming from. It's basically like liquid meth in some ways, and it's dangerous. Like everything within moderation, I think, is somewhat okay, but we live in a world where, come on, moderation? Have you seen us?
Amazing kid. But the very words used to describe 16-year-old Davis Cripe's life, always full of energy, are eerily the same words that took it away.
Right before he had his heart stopped, he had chugged an energy drink.
Davis was laid to rest last year, and now with the help of his parents, South Carolina lawmakers introducing a bill that would make it illegal to sell or give an energy drink to anyone under the age of 18.
18. That's interesting. Would I say 16? I mean, because at 18, you're still a kid, right? Like yesterday, you're 17. Today, you're 18. You can drink as many of these as you want now. You know you're going to get them. I'm always wary of something like this, right? Because as we all know, good intentions, right? And the next thing you know is those unintended consequences that come with those and the overreach. I could see 16, 18. I get it depends on the state, but I've seen people here at work. It's the young 20-somethings. Because again, I don't come from it. Our energy drink. What was that cola? Phil, was it producer Phil? Was it Jolt? Remember Jolt? That was our energy drink.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jolt Cola. It's got 10 times the caffeine, right? Don't drink with Pop Rocks or you'll die. But that was kind of ours. And I think Mountain Dew is supposedly, or one of those things, has some crazy caffeine, but not like these kind of things. These things are nuts. You just worry, right? Like, and I understand it's all these kind of tragedies are a personal tragedy. But man, I've seen people pound those things. But what's the same thing about coffee, right? Because that's where it's going to go. That's the fear factor. If you're Starbucks and this, that, and the other, and, you know, like Jack likes to go get his he gets one of those small little coffees. He gets hot chocolate every once in a while and just some whipped cream and stuff. But you see kids go and get that. Is that going to be the next thing? Because you can drink a ton of coffee as well and take energy pills.
We look at it as an adult decision. We want them to have time to be sort of educated on this.
But not everyone agrees with the age cap.
If they put a ban on it, it shouldn't be no lower than 16. And I feel like your body, should be pretty much developed enough to drink an energy drink.
According to medical experts, it's not. The FDA recommends adults consume no more than 400 milligrams of caffeine per day and recommend that children stay away from it altogether.
The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends no caffeine-containing drinks for children and adolescents.
Yeah, they recommend a lot. Doesn't mean we always listen. First fine would be $50, and they go from there. When you look about it, like for me, I drink a ton of iced tea. I drink a lot of water. I drink a lot of iced tea. Those are kind of my two things. I don't drink anything else. I don't drink any soda. Once in a great while, I'll have a Sprite, but that's it. I don't drink Coke or Pepsi or any of that stuff. I haven't had a soda like that in like 4 or 5 years. I do drink this, and I'll drink some light lemon every once in a while, but that's about it. But I've got a lot of caffeine in there. I mean, we always overindulge, right? And the recommendations are always like ridiculous. Like, have a thimble and that's all you're going to get. It's like, really? Really? I don't think so. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. So Chase Bank came under fire from a lot of people who were mad by what they tweeted out. Hashtag Monday Motivation. And it's a conversation with you and your bank. Why is my balance so low? Bank account. Make coffee at home. Bank account. Eat the food that's already in the fridge. Bank account. You don't need a cab. It's only 3 blocks. I guess we'll never know. Bank account. Seriously? Question mark. And then it came for, how dare you say something like that? How dare you? And who does it? Elizabeth Warren. Why are customers saving money? Taxpayers? We lost our jobs, homes, savings, but gave you $25 billion bailout. Workers, employers don't pay living wages. And then she goes on and on. Seriously. Yeah, they gave a bailout. They got that money back plus in a lot of ways. She doesn't we also bailed out the car companies with the unions and lost a ton of money. She doesn't put that. Secondly, if this came from Dave Ramsey, you'd be like, that's right. I can make food at home. I don't need to eat out. I can make coffee at home. I don't need it. And maybe once in a while treat it. I think about this. If I was to go and make my iced tea every day, and I do once in a while, but not as much as I should, I probably would save myself $150 a month. I don't know. $100 a month? If you think about all those little things, and it's just so funny because is it the messenger? It's not so much the message, right? Because if your mom said that, you'd be like, yeah. If Dave Ramsey said that, you'd be like, Rav, you went to a financial person and you're getting financial advice and they're telling you, do this, this, and this, cut back here, here, and here, and you'll save yourself $300 a month. You'd be like, yeah. But because it's the banks and they're evil, they're an easy target. And I get it. Trust me, I get it. But doesn't mean what they said wasn't right. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We're watching what's going on in Venezuela. I'm sure this may go on through the weekend and then some, and the potential for this thing to get ugly is very, very real. Call it a constitutional coup where they're trying to take back their constitution, and a coup against the people is kind of where they're going. Not so much military coup is what they're trying to say. But we'll see, because even though it's not a military, you want the military on your side. So it's a weird kind of walking that, like, hey, we don't want to make it a military coup, but we definitely don't want you shooting at us. So if you could just move over and be on our team, that'd be helpful. Hey, a decade ago, AMAC was founded as the alternative left-leaning Goliath that is ARP. AMAC membership, super cheap, less than $20 a year. Benefits, you'll make up tenfold. Here's the thing about AMAC, though. They won't put their money where their mouth is. They're going to politically advocate on your behalf. When I was out there talking with them a few weeks ago, they were talking about how they knew Social Security is in so much trouble. They're out there trying to make sure it's solvent for you. Medicare is solvent. And they're fighting for common sense immigration reform, getting in the ears of these people saying, look, we can have empathy, but we need to have borders as well. They do a great job at that, but their benefits are also incredible. And they put their money where their mouth is. The first year, it's free. They don't even want your credit card. There's no cost, no trick, none of that stuff. Just sign up, give them a year. Retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, competitively priced insurance, roadside assistance discounts, you name it, they've got it. And sign up again. 1 year free membership. It's on me. Go to amac.us/Chad. That's amac.us/Chad. amac.us/Chad, or call them 888-355-1668. 888-355-1668 or amac.us/Chad. It's the Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
Chavez stuck around for about 20 years. These things don't happen overnight, but in 3 short months, I think the world has seen the horrors of the Maduro regime.
Yeah. You mean the former bus driver is not all that he's cracked up to be? No, he's not. And it's ugly in Caracas today. And it is going to, it's not an overnight thing. It isn't. Tomorrow, this thing could settle down, and by the time the weekend rolls around, it could just rear its ugly head again. And I just think it's going to be very interesting, because the world is watching, too. And if you're Maduro in Venezuela and you're watching this thing potentially start to fall apart, you start thinking to yourself, what is my exit strategy? And if I overreach here, then the world's really going to turn on me, right? If I start killing innocents, because it's not like Tiananmen Square. Social media is everywhere. People are filming. It's all happening. It will get out. This isn't Tiananmen Square 1989 where it went dark and next thing you know, everybody's dead. It's not that. Much, much different. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Some of you tweeted in about, we were just talking about the energy drinks and the fact that South Carolina is a bill out there that they want to pass that move energy drinks to, if you're going to purchase one, you have to be 18 years or older. And I was telling my story, and then Phil was telling his story. He said he bought his on a hot day, and he took one drink, and he's all, bleh. And I took a drink of Lucozade when I was in England, and Lucozade is this drink that is supposed to be very similar to, they said, like we have Gatorade. It's what Lucozade. It was, I said, I think I just drank gasoline. It was just, Speaking of England, where did they come in the sexiest accents in the world? Let's do the top 10. Brazil at number 10. Southern accent, number 9. USAAmerica.com, man. Southern accent's really good. Spanish 8. French 7. I don't know how Scotland got on here. Don't know at all. Australia 5. Italy. The Irish. The Irish are always there. South Africa. Number 2, and number 1, the Kiwis, New Zealand, of the sexiest accents in the world. And they made fun of the fact. They're like, that's not true. Happy birthday to our man, Phil. Producer Phil, congratulations on reaching yet another year.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Go eat a steak tonight and enjoy yourself in craziness. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Your useless info of the day. They actually have a naming committee in Iceland because they don't want people to name their child anything weird. They have about 3,500 names on there that you can choose from, about 1,800 for the girls and about 1,700 for the boys. And those are the only names you are allowed to choose from in Iceland. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Have a great rest of your day. As always, night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.